we'll get started. And obviously, as you come in, please feel free as we go through this to put any questions in the chat as we go. But first, thank you so much for spending time with us this wonderful time of year. Today, we're on a panel discussion with three incredible founders from different walks of the data streaming world. And today, we're going to cover a little bit of retrospective on data infrastructure across 2024. We're going to talk about three key topics, Gen AI and table formats. Some of the, again, I don't think you can go very far at any conference and not hear about some type of Gen AI use case or some of the incredible transitions that are going on with Iceberg, table formats, and the blurring of open source database transformation. The second, we're going to talk about some of the challenges and solutions that customers are focused on as it relates to Gen AI, Iceberg, and table formats, some of the headwind, tailwinds, how are people kind of applying and tackling some of these really daunting tasks. And then in the end, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to get in our DeLorean, we're going to play a little Back to the Future, and we're going to look forward. And we're going to, kind of look into the three minds of the people with us today and talk a little about what do we think we're going to be talking about in 12 to 24 months as it relates to these topics. So without any further ado, let me take a moment. My name is Quentin Packard. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you today. I have the privilege of being a part of a special company called Conduktor and leading all our go-to-market efforts. I'll be your moderator, your host, and hopefully make you laugh a little bit as we do this. The real talent on the call is the three incredible people with me. So with that, let me first turn it over to you three. I'd love for you to introduce yourself, share a little bit about what you do, and then I'd love for you to share one thing we may not know about you off your LinkedIn page, or otherwise known as social stalking. So why don't we start with you, Alex? Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do, and what's something we may not know about you?
I kind of revealed my card with the cookie, and that was gonna be, and then I just sort of spilled the beans at the lobby. But I guess, anyways, by means of introduction, Alex, founder and CEO of Redpanda. We've been doing this for almost 6 years. And for those of us that haven't heard about us, we are a Kafka replacement for mission critical systems, power some of the world's largest logos. I no longer code, unfortunately, but I did start out, building the original storage engine. And so excited to be here to share perhaps, I guess, my view of the world to contextualize people on the call is I mostly talk to Fortune 5,000 companies. And so, for those of us that are in the group, please type in your questions. Don't be shy. I speak fast, so interrupt me. I mostly grew up in my formative years were in Brooklyn, New York. So just type in your questions. Excited to be part of this chat. Should be looking forward to hanging out.
I'm not going to let you off the hook. What's one thing we wouldn't know about you, or we be able to find about you?
Yeah, I'm not sure I talked too much about my family, but I am first generation in the US, first person to go to school, period. And so it was fun. I actually dropped out. I'll give you two since you called me out. The other thing is I dropped out of my PhD/grad school program in cryptography. I published a couple of papers in SOUPS, Symposium of Cybersecurity. Anyways, and so those are two fun facts. Thank you for keeping me honest.
I love it, man. And thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful to be part of this with you. Yingjun, can we start with you or go back to you now? Tell us a little about what you do.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I'm Yingjun, and I didn't really know that Alex just dropped off, right? Twice, right? Probably just twice. I didn't really expect us 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Yingjun and a founder of RisingWave. If you never heard about RisingWave, basically it's one sentence is that it's a stream processing company. Help you to process, analyze, and manage your data streams from anywhere from the world, right? Well, from Kafka, from Redpanda, from Postgres, from wherever, yeah. And so, I mean, these days, right, I work a lot about the stream processing systems, and I actually started. People ask me, okay, why you I mean, look at why you want to start a company or working on this space, right? I have to say that I actually started working on stream processing around probably 10 plus years ago. At that time, people was just started working on like single node, okay, stream processors within a database. But I found that okay, it was definitely great technology, but over the last 10 years, nobody tried to monetize it, and nobody tried to sell a good product on it. That's why it started. And some fun fact about myself. Yeah, I'm same as Alex. I'm also a first generation in the US, and I got my O1 visa. So yeah, a lot of people talk about for the what is it called for the OpenAI O1, right? So I also got the O1 visa long time ago. Yeah.
Thank you. And again, pleasure to be on this with you. All right, the Steph, let's go to you. Tell them about who you are. Please don't share any of the stories about, that time in Cancun, but maybe you share a couple stories about maybe some things people don't know about you.
All right. Well, nice to be here. I love all of people here. Alex, Yingjun, we know each other for quite a few times now in the streaming community, which is kind of small, let's say. I'm doing data engineering for a long time in startup, in large companies. So I saw a lot. I think I'm playing with Kafka. Kafka is a game. I'm playing with Kafka for like a decade. So a lot of things. This is what basically led me to introduce Conduktor to the world. What is Conduktor? Quickly, enterprise data management. So at scale for streaming data. Basically, we help very, very large organization. It's nice to have a lot of data in a business, but generally, you know that, guys, it's a chaos. Generally, chaos comes with data. And so our goal is actually help large organization to connect basically all their infra, because infra grows organically. Teams, people, process, putting guardrails, putting controls, putting a lot of things to actually make your business, Alex and Yingjun, in a better place, because by connecting, by helping organization, actually streaming is going to increase as well, the usage. And so this is our mission at Conduktor. I will cheat a bit on the story, Quentin, but I'm also a co-founder of something else, which is a club of Dance Revolution. So I don't look like it, but I'm a massive, massive, massive player of Dance Revolution. Check out Google, but yeah, hit me up if you want to play anywhere in the world.
He's baited me into that, and I've lost some money on that, so I can attest.
And some white.
This is true. I'm still working on that part. All right, so let's dive right in. Gen AI, Iceberg table format, priority strategies. I think anywhere you go these days, you're going to hear about one of these topics or both of these topics. I'd love to start a little bit about, and Alex, we'll start with you. The pace of AI is moving at just a radical transformation that I think we've never seen before. I'd love to start with, how sustainable is this? And what, as you talk to companies, the Fortune 5000 companies, what are you hearing around key AI initiatives and the way they're thinking about their data infrastructure capabilities? Like, how do those things go together? To obviously make this sustainable, or kind of making this something that's going to break and create a lot of challenges.
Yeah. So I would say where the companies that I talk to are stuck in design documents, and no one is really making money with Gen AI, to be honest. Like I think people have tried it. We're still in like this demo land. I was like, oh, I can run Llama 3 on my laptop, and like, I could double my stock price. And largely that's where people are. And I think like the long pole here is really twofold. One is enterprise security. And so an edge goes to the CISO or the CTO, and it's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to launch this new product, this new tech. Let's say that you're a financial company and you want to summarize 10K documents so you can interact with them. Like, what were the earnings of whatever, or this particular company over this time period, or like any key initiatives? How should I think about investment in this particular stock? That like kind of document parsing, indexing, retrieval, like that tends to be a really good example to drive this discussion. And so an engineer does like, I tried this, perhaps I use whether it's Redpanda Connect or Llama or VLLM. I got a little demo thing up and running. Great. And so you take it to the CTO and they're like, what is the access control policy? Does this integrate into OpenID Connect or whatever centralized identity management? Like, are there logs being sent to Splunk or CM on any CM provider that you're using? And by the way, did legal approve? And so I think what with Mist is like this, I don't know, enterprising of the productionizing rather of these models. And then perhaps the most controversial thing that I've been telling the world is that the future is now going to be about calling these models. It doesn't make financial sense. No one in the world has the dollars, period. Not even the best companies today, to make an API call for every data item that is that's interacting with OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini, but full stop. Like, economics don't work. What does work was when I think I talked about earlier this year is the inverse. Is actually shipping the model to the data. That's going to be relatively scalable, and for many reasons. But really two things that drive the here, and then I'll tie it to the enterprise-ness and policy injection here. So the first one is that Llama 3 is crushing the game. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for releasing this phenomenal product. But really, like, it's like Llama 3, 70 billion is now as good as 405 billion. It's insane. And so what you get is this like similar quality output, whether you use an OpenWave model or Anthropic or Gemini or whatever, GPT-4 and so on. And so there is like no incentive from the Fortune 5000 that I get to talk to like necessarily send the data, given that you can run it in your infrastructure and not share the data, first principle, and get similar to a quality output. And then, and so not sharing your data is a big one, right? And the idea that even the CPTO of OpenAI has come out and said in public, the alpha is your data, is not the model. We're going to build a better model than you can. So like, when you fine tune it and you tweak it, that's it. That's how you're going to make a bunch of money. You're going to take these models, you're going to fine tune it, and then that's the path to making money for your company. The second thing is perhaps more important. Like, even if you have dollars, and some use cases do really have, like, fraud detection is a great example where, like, there's almost unlimited money to be spent there because the value of each transaction is so high. Like, think of someone. I don't think I stopped basically getting calls from Nigerian prince scams, like, I don't know, 7 years ago. That just doesn't happen anymore because tech is pretty good. Some of it powered through Redpanda, which is cool. Anyways, and so the second piece is you can build better user experiences by doing two things. Like, you can lower the parameter. So if you're summarizing 10K documents, you don't need to know how to change a bicycle tire. And two, because you've quantized it and lowered the parameter model, it's faster. So you actually get better interactivity from this. And so, long story short, I think that, like, the future of inference in particular, and we can talk, if we divorce both trainings, and I have like different opinions on both, but the future for inference, so like runtime of these things, will not be about sending your data to the large enterprises like OpenAI or Anthropic. Will actually be the opposite of sending models to the data that is quantized, lower parameter, context-specific, fine-tuned for economics and better user experiences. And then once you have that, then you can inject policies. Like, by the way, for whatever reason, my company is not allowed to use, let's say, to pick on Stephane here, the French models. Obviously, that's not the case, but you get the change. So maybe, the Qwen 2.5 models, because it's provided by a different nation state. And so I want to stop here because this could go on forever. But that's generally my thoughts, is the inverse will be scalable and will work. And in the context of the streaming, I'm not sure that there is an alternative to the design space.
No, well said. And I think it's like everything, you kind of start one way and then the model flips, right? And the direct, indirect monetization of what people are going to try to do is obviously going to go through a transition. So Ying, let me flip to you. What do you think about that? Do you violently disagree with Alex, or how do you see it?
Well, actually, roughly, yeah, definitely agree with him. Well, so here's what I've ever seen over the last 2 years. So I still remember that for last year, when when the OpenAI thing was just got started, right? And people started asking us, okay, how your application can help us to build a GenAI application. Literally mentioned, okay, how to build a GenAI application using our solution. They ask us the question. And people also ask us whether actually a couple of our users and customers ask us, okay, will you build a vector search functionality within your streaming database? So and for the investors, where they ask me, okay, what's your AI strategy? I mean, I don't know whether it's sustainable or not, or I don't know the definition of that, but apparently everyone is talking about that, right? And they think that, well, you probably have to, okay, you are a startup, and you have to do something with AI, right? So if you do not really do anything with AI, then probably you're not you're probably kind of like old-fashioned. That's what people thought, right? So look, well, I don't really, I definitely I would I have to say that, well, AI definitely benefits some use cases, and we do see our customers pay real money for AI. I can give you some real world example. One is the customer engagement. The problem is not that, well, the direct use case, but well, it's more like, okay, customer engagement. They in the past, where they don't really have I mean, chatbots, right? Everyone has a chatbot, but in the past, where the chatbot is like, kind of stupid. But nowadays, well, I mean, people can use RisingWave, and they can essentially to detect what the user behaviors, right? Well, can track the user behaviors, and then probably can give a better answer by calling the the OpenAI API or some other models API. And some other use cases, like, we do see that, well, people also use, well, the LLM to do the, what is called, what they, so basically they grab they crowd data from Twitter and do some taggings, and then they do some sentiment analysis. So we see people do that. But if you talk about, well, more traditional use cases like fraud detection, like I don't know, well, I mean, in the attack, well, there's thing called, well, the dynamic pricing. We still see people doing using the very traditional machine learning model. It's nothing to do with the, the LLM, probably just a tiny small model, and they probably trained by within the last of 5 days, or probably a couple of hours. It's like small, still kind of a small model. And when we talk to the customers, and real customers who are serious about what the LLM, then they also have a lot of concerns about the security. Okay, I don't really have access to the OpenAI. Oh yeah, these days probably people have access to the Bedrocks if they are in AWS. Cool, and if they are in Azure, then probably they have OpenAI access. But well, unfortunately, many people have concerns. Well, even if they are in AWS, I cannot ship my data to OpenAI. What I can do, right? People ask that kind of questions. So I think before, I don't know, again, well, I don't know whether it's sustainable or not, but before talking about building application, we probably have to talk about some legal questions first, right? So that's what I've seen. But definitely, I think we're in 2025, people will probably still keep talking about that, and people still talk about, okay, probably I can build a better AI solutions or AI demos, whatever, right? But let's be real, and probably we have some other things to do. Yeah.
Well said. If you reflect back on the cloud transformation, one of the biggest things that slowed down was putting my data and my things in other people's environments, right? And that took a while to get through. So I think there's some parallels. So Steph, what do you think about this? I mean, you got two great responses. Do you see it differently, or how do you think about the sustainability and how this comes together?
Yeah, let's say, we could talk for hours, I think, about AI. I'll try to make it just on 2 points. One thing is what Alex said, data over model. I think it was Alex from Scale AI, so not you, Alex, the other Alex. Just days ago, I think he was just saying the data is going to be so massive, like next year, next year, because this is your goal. This is the golden nuggets of the world of any business out there. And AI, the nice thing, as we said, the business is still, we don't know exactly what to do except chatbots, more or less. But it is pushing so much on the data infra these days, because you want AI for some reason. You want quality, you want this kind of aspect. You want the lineage of things to not, have bias in your models, ML or AI, you have to be careful about that. You want to be extra careful about the security aspect, the privacy aspect of your data. So AI actually is pushing to think about data as like a first-class citizen in any organization today. So I think this is a very cool step, a very good step. Whether AI makes sense or not, it is pushing the industry to think of data. Not thinking just about, oh, I need an infra and everything will be great. No, think about your data, because actually the data of tomorrow is going to be your business probably, and not just your usual business. So I think this is a cool thing, but I think as we mentioned, you need to be very careful. You probably are aware of all the AI guardrails, I think, because you want to protect not sending stupid things to your LLM and not saying stupid things to your customers based on your LLMs. So you need like a lot of processing. And you know what? The good answer of all of this is actually streaming. So I think we are in a really good spot here to help AI be bigger and make your data more valuable. With all the paradigm of actually streaming will help the business. And one other thing I just think this morning, I thought this morning, was, AI, it came from massive models, like think monolith, a big monolithic application, to actually microservices. And we even talk about agentic mesh. If you are following, the news, it goes so fast from let's do a big central thing to decentralized things to local models to SLM. It goes really, really fast, the evolution of what we can do. So it's very exciting, but people are losing their mind. To be honest, these days, I feel like 2 years ago, when ChatGPT emerges, it was, oh my God, so many news everywhere. And these days, it's a bit the same. It is going into any direction, some bullshit things, some things that are just theoretical, that will never be used in a real organization, because organization is generally chaos. So yeah, but in the end, streaming is just key. So very happy.
I think that just to like riff on that comment though, let's see, I guess a decade ago or maybe more, there was like the typicals of the world as this like message bus. And then we all moved on from that into like a service mesh style architecture. And then you wanted durability, replayability, a bunch of things. The Redpandas and the Kafkas of the world came out. And then and I think now that's a really good base. I think latency and interactivity is a thing that goes unsaid, which it doesn't make any sense for and I would use interactivity over latency, because people are going to get caught up on like, what does that mean? And there's like, it's going to be a nerd, I'm sure, on this call that is like, what is real time, Alex? I just guarantee someone's going to say that in the comments. But interactivity is different, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense if you submit a prompt to a model and then you get the answer at midnight. You're like, well, like, I don't even know why I asked you to summarize this website. Like, I was at lunch, I didn't know what this product does. And so, hey, summarize this product, which is interesting. And then there's also like at its core, when you need to glue these things together, like I think I agree with the evolution away from like a giant model into effectively hundreds of thousands of little models over time, basically just enriching about every interaction. And a thing, there has to be a glue, like some code must exist. It may look like Redpanda or not, or some other tech that has to be able to glue these things together in a way that like, the CTO would feel comfortable with deploying to prod.
You know what, I think it's going to fail, because you know what happened after microservices? We realized it was too small and it was chaos. So I think we are at this stage right now we are thinking about that in AI, and we are going to say, oh shit.
I was about to ask, so how would you compare that to the hype, not hype, but the what people thought microservices was going to do, and then the complex mess that was then created? Do you think that going through that iteration of, the advent of Kubernetes, the microservice distributed architectures, networks, how do we learn from some of the things that we went through over the last 10 years and apply it into now similar thing around, instead of one massive model? I agree with you, smaller micro models, but we've learned that creates a lot of havoc for engineers and for platform teams. So how do you think about that? Alex?
Yeah,
Okay.
let me give a quick comment. Then I think Yingjun is a good. This is basically in your wheelhouse because that like a lot of the like effectively microservices cannot exist without state. Right, like if you're stateless, then something else has to deal with state. Like you can't no one can eliminate complexity. Like if the example I like to give, if the job is to save data to disk, then the job is to save data to disk. If the services doesn't own it, then you have to push the complexity to perhaps something that looks like RisingWave or something like that. And so like anyways, we could go on and on Kubernetes and some of the complexities that it brings. There are real benefits though. But perhaps I think Yingjun, I'm curious as to, you probably see it a lot more from like a state management perspective. I think where we see it is on the interactivity of services. Like, okay, who's talking to each other? How do I understand it? But you see it at the core, which is if these microservices are pushing a state to something else, then they push it to a database that probably looks a lot like RisingWave.
Yeah, we do see people talk about for the microservices, especially in enterprises, especially people in companies well, that have different departments, and they say that well, I want to build well, I mean, monolithic doesn't really work for me, and I want to build yeah microservices, right? Well, I want to use well, yeah, probably chop things up, right? Well, chop things down, right? But for the look, well, the thing here, I think it's more about the complexity. It's not about well, the how you manage the states and yeah, definitely RisingWave can do that, and you can just use RisingWave for try to use. But look, what the end day, it's more about how you negotiate with your. I mean, it's probably not negotiate, but it's not how you collaborate with your teammates and how you collaborate with the yeah yeah with so many other engineers, right? Because if you how to do that, right? Because well, you have probably have already built a model, not a model, but for your application for I mean for years, and how you can yeah yeah just immediately translate it into microservice yeah style, right? Well, it's not yeah, I think well in many cases it's more about the humans and how yeah, collaborations, communications, those kind of stuff. It's not about the technology, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's like a really interesting question here with an article. I just clicked on it. Quentin, maybe you can moderate this, but it's this idea, it's kind of fascinating. It's like, so I think Llama 3 just released I know Llama integrated into this, like the idea of model safety. And so there's been a bunch of attacks here, but it's sort of fascinating. You know, in many ways, as infrastructure providers, I guess, especially these three companies, I'm not sure if Conduktor or RisingWave have plan of building their own models. We don't. We plan on powering people using models, so we sort of punt the complexities of having to deal with the difficulty of poisoning the models or model safety into something else. In many ways, it feels like this is an integration play to effectively get, help people get their job done.
Yeah, actually, if you talk about the poisoning, yeah, I don't know how these models for like OpenAI or some other vendors will deal with this, but we do see that one of the key reasons people do not really use that well, is because, well, I mean, they are afraid of like, yeah, the wrong answers, right? So incorrect answers or misleading answers. So they that well, yeah, okay, even if like the model looks, well, I mean, the ARM looks so. I mean, advanced well compared to traditional solutions, well compared to smaller models. But I want to just be safe, and I don't really want to break any rules. I don't really want to run into any troubles. So yeah,
Those
they
companies
do.
will fail. I mean, first spicy topic. Like companies that are afraid of leaning into the future will fail. It doesn't make any sense. I know someone you wanted to add to that. And the reason is like you could always have the same human process. Not like let's say that you're getting a loan for a house. And so if it's a no, then the answer is you put it on a dead letter queue or something along those lines, and you're like human, review it. But it doesn't make sense to not lean into the future. Um,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
seems like a big missed revenue step. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I mean, you cannot just say that okay, the model is not safe, so I will never adopt it. Well, it's definitely not possible. And I believe that well, if you want to adopt a model, I mean, definitely for enterprises, Fortune 500 companies, well, they have a lot of concerns about these kind of things. So they probably have to build something to prevent for some misinformation, all these kind of stuff, right? So yeah, that's my take. Yeah.
For the accuracy, they're the one that's going to get penalized for the hallucination and the inaccuracy, right? So they have to take more responsibility of it. Is that
Sure.
fair?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's their data, it's their advice. So let me segue. We're talking a little about some of the challenges, but there's definitely a spicy take, Alex, that came out most recently. Databricks, small little infusion of additional monies. How do you think about, whether it's table formats, Iceberg, Polaris, how do you think about, some of the changes that are going to happen and the reshaping of the landscape around table formatting? It's a cornerstone for a lot of things we're talking about. Jump in a little bit ahead around the future, but how do you think about that acquisition or the acquisition of Tabular, Snowflake's open sourcing, and the reshaping of that landscape? How's it going to affect the table format ecosystem? And double click for a moment, like what are some of the gaps that still exist in table formatting, especially as it relates to governance and real-time usage?
Yeah, is this for Stephane or for whom?
Let's start with you, Alex.
Right on. So 2 years ago, we posted. I did a Kelsey Hightower, and I did like, hey, let's lump on a Twitter Spaces, and then we got like 400 or 500 people jumping on that, and like 40 of those 500, 10% were competing companies, and then a year later they launched a product. But what we predicted then was that like there's this duality where if you kind of schematize a bag of bytes, right? So the Kafka model for those of you listening in is a bag of bytes. Here's some bytes, shove it into some topic, I'll retrieve it. When you schematize it, you now have a different mental model. Think of it like an append-only table. And I think that was the key. And so for us, the insight was like, and I've been part of the problem to call myself out, which is like, hey, streaming is a superset. You could be using this thing. The only thing that was missing as part of the concept was a callback timer, and then you could do everything that batch can, and so on, or at least you could use it as an orchestrator. I don't think people are going to care in the future. What they want is they wanted a single copy of your data, and they want multiple ways of accessing it. And I think we're all rushing to get there as fast as we can. Everyone is hiring like extremely competent people, and luckily Databricks with this small $10 billion funding round, it's like worth more than many public companies. Huge success for them, obviously, and positive outlook from investors. That signals two things. I think a big shift in enterprise, and this is probably where Stephane kind of gets to see more than I can across a wider industry range, is the future is not going to be about accessing the data through a single vendor's API. Is going to be like, I own the data, BYOC, first spicy topic 3 years ago too, we talked about it. I own the data in my bucket, and by the way, I'm going to access it with the best tool. And so you stop competing away from like, the only way to access my data is through this particular query, SQL engine or this particular product. It's like, no, the data is formatted in a way that's publicly accessible by a bunch of tools. Let the best technology win. And I think what that's going to do, market pressure, I think the revenue and the gross margin from a lot of these high-end products is going to go down, but in aggregate is going to expand, because simply more people are going to use more of the product. And then other things kind of come into play, which is like, okay, who has access to this data?
Yeah, who has access? How do they want to access it? What are they trying to do with it, right? Steph, how do you think about this?
So yes, obviously, right about that. I would say like democratization of data as a first-class citizen is coming, and actually this Iceberg and all is pushing towards this. Like, it's less expensive. You have more ways to access the data. Data products in the data mesh paradigm. It's this basically. So this is coming for internal needs. Like, I want everyone in my business, whatever the patterns, how they want to query this. I want to train a model. I want to just subscribe. I want to do SQL, ad hoc SQL, whatever. It's still the same piece of data. Today we are duplicating data like it's a crazy story. I think this is coming, so this is nice thanks to Iceberg. Then you have the merge of streaming and Iceberg. So like Alex in Redpanda, you have this thing to make update in Kafka actually visible in a SQL way, in an Iceberg way. This is amazing. I think this is where the world is coming. I would just put something is enterprises are very slow to move. So while the market is crazy, like I'm going crazy, I change everything every 6 months. Think about a company of 10,000 people. They don't care. They are going to forecast like in 5 years, we change our data architecture at scale. And I think we are really forgetting that the pace of evolution, technical evolution, is totally decorrelated from the real thing on the ground, where they still have, COBOL. Guys, it's like we are going way too fast. So from my perspective, I see that a lot. Like we are crazy how we think. We think fast forward, but we forget the reality of what is a massive business, not fast moving that fast. The other thing, I think we did not mention that, Q, but AWS has also released, S3 tables like last week at reInvent. I'm pretty sure GCP Azure they are going to do the same. So basically, tomorrow you will have Iceberg just everywhere on any type of object storage. So this is cool because this is also going to democratize basically the whole my data, and I share my data internally. And I think this is more my take of the future, but also externally. I love this thing at Databricks, Delta Share. It's how can I share data out there, to partners. I think this is also coming, and this is already here for streaming, but just the beginning. And it will come even more with Iceberg. Like these are my data. You want to do AI? These are my data, my unique asset. I'm going to sell it to everyone in the world. And so we probably are going to find this for streaming, for Iceberg, but it will be basically a piece of data. And I package it and feel free to use it how you want.
I think like the clouds need to be stopped with this, to be honest. Like I think that they're getting too big. It feels like illegal for some of these cloud providers, honestly, to be doing the like games that they play. An example is like, oh, we are a cloud and we get to eliminate our networking costs. You're like, okay, well, let's compete on best technology. And so anyways, I figure I throw another spicy take. This is the Christmas review, so happy holidays, everyone. But I also think that S3 is going to be more cost effective with technology like RisingWave. So when you do the mechanics of the S3 tables, it's kind of like expensive, right? And so what they're doing is they're just setting up the negotiation mechanics for the field team to go in. And I was like, hey, wouldn't you like a 70% discount of this artificial price? And so it makes it pretty expensive, but overall, so when you look at list price or something, I mean, 70%, I'm exaggerating, obviously. And we like Amazon and all the clouds, thank you. But I think RisingWave or products like it, which is like better positioned to do a much better job at managing these tables than now. Obviously, they're going to do an okay job. And S3 is probably their best product, honestly. So like maybe that team will do a generally a good job. But my bet is on smaller companies doing much more interesting things than like compacting deltas or updating indices. I think that there's a lot more value to be added there in like a better user experience. Anyways, I figure I like throw it out there. It doesn't. Let me pause here. I agree with you though that GCP and Azure, it's only a matter of time until they're forced to offer compaction on Iceberg tables.
Well, I mean, the choice part and the right UX for the right need, you can't have a one size fits all to this, right? I mean, I don't think that's going to work. So, hey, we got some really good questions that are coming up. I want to bring up a couple and we can obviously keep flowing, and I love the spicy takes. Let's start with a pretty simple one. So what was the most unexpected innovations in data infrastructure this year? Let me run around the horn. Alex, you're up. I'll start with you. 30 seconds or less. What do you think?
Gosh, it's like the kind of thing where you should have prepared. The most unexpected thing, I would say, I think the how fast really like entire products became features of other products. And so an example is whether you write into S3 as a write through cache, or you have like what are you using hierarchical nearest vector databases is a good example. Every database has it. It just, a bunch of these things became features rather than companies and products on its own. Like the speed at which that happened blew my mind.
Ying, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I didn't really expect that. Well, so many people are talking about Iceberg this year. To be honest, well, last year I remember that. Well, when we did the year review, definitely, yeah, people are talking about the Iceberg, but well, something. I mean, the like acquisition, right? Well, database acquisition and the Polaris things, well, and some other things. Well, it changes, yeah, a lot, and basically nowadays everyone is talking about the Iceberg. We didn't really expect that at all, to be honest, to be very transparent. Yeah,
I don't think
and
the CEO of Tabular did either, so that's good.
Yeah, Yingjun, it's because you didn't tune into my podcast with Kelsey 2 years ago. If you did, then it wouldn't be surprising.
well, I didn't really expect that's where they acquired the company, right? Well, like, yeah, yeah. Did you mention the acquisition last 2 years ago? I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
no.
probably I should.
Next time
Yeah,
I'll buy
but
the lottery though. To whatever.
yeah,
Steph, what
but
do you
for
think?
yeah, I heard about but I definitely heard about the acquisition before the announcement. Well, it's like still kind of like surprising. Yeah.
I was with him at a Stream Native event. I think he was pretty surprised too, to be honest. He's a very humble guy. So wait, Steph, what do you think?
Yes, outside of the AI madness, maybe the shift left, like it's a thing for like a long time. It's not new at all, but I don't know, this year, maybe we know because of some companies, like it's a big thing that we have to do like as soon as possible. Well, it's not new, but I think everybody's like aware. I think I was talking with someone today, say, I heard shift left like thousands of time in like a few months. And finally we realize that yes, you want to do good things at the beginning of anything before it spread to your system and it's chaos. So I think this is a great thing. I don't know if it's just hype. Maybe I'm in a bubble, but I will see how it goes.
And it's clear, at least from my tours, the focus and the importance of data quality, shifting the ability to really get your handle on data quality earlier in cycles. And then the combination of shift left, shift right testing, I think, has gotten to a new level. Some of that's the cost and the fear factor of Gen AI. Some of that is the speed at which these things need to get produced, right? I think there's a couple aspects of it. Let's stay on another spike. Iceberg won the table format competition, or is it still up for battle?
Yeah, I did see the hoodie
Yeah, go
thing.
ahead,
Yeah.
Yingjun.
Yeah, I did see the hoodie thing. Yeah. It's probably just yesterday, right? I didn't really. Yeah, probably just yesterday they announced 1.0, but I have to say that for the everyone is looking at Iceberg first. At least for yeah in as far as I can see, well, I mean, Ed probably can give a better answer, but well, what I can see here is that well, yeah, Redpanda definitely has the direct integration with Iceberg. I'm not sure whether whether you have planned for the hoodie and the Delta Lake, but obviously Iceberg is something that's where you have already supported that, right?
Yeah. So it's released. People can download it. I'll paste a quick little thing here on the chat for people to try out a local Iceberg Docker. But I disagree. I actually don't think that Microsoft and Google are going to stand still. And my hunch is that they're going to lean into a different format that is going to accelerate AI workloads. So I was reading the Facebook paper, and it's like something insane, like 200 terabits per second download to train these things. I don't know when, but I do think that Iceberg has to evolve. In the age of AI, I'm not sure that like the format layout is the ultimate layout. Now, I think from a data integration point of view, yes. But things in infrastructure are never like one and done. It's sort of like Stephane mentioned, companies are still shifting left to get to Amazon. Let alone to get into like this open data formats. I think like that will continue forever. My hunch is the next evolution of data formats will not be. It could be Iceberg if Iceberg catches up. I don't have a vision on it, but my reaction is that there will be like a format specific for accelerating AI workloads. It's just like if I look at the content generated, just in terms of information density, speed, throughput, like all of the metrics that matter for content generation, it's gonna be driven by machine to machine. And so I think it makes sense to continue to optimize for that workload. rather than from the human entering a query to get results.
Yeah,
Steph-
yeah. Actually, one thing I want to mention is that we mentioned yeah, whether the Iceberg will catch up with some of the OEL workloads. But I have to mention that, I mean, this is probably, definitely the last webinar in 2024 for me. Well, so I would like to mention that, well, essentially I feel that, well, because of the acquisition, the development speed probably will be slowing down because, well, there are so many competitors and they probably want to push their own stuff into the Iceberg community, right? One thing one example is that for the government stuff. So Iceberg haven't has the official repository, they didn't really have the RBAC. They still didn't really have the RBAC. If you do not really have RBAC, how you use it in enterprises, right? So that's a question, right? Well, and so that's where people have to use some vendor solutions, well, so that's where they can get the RBAC, right? So definitely, I'm not sure whether Stephane, I mean, you are expert in the data governance, and whether you have some, will you build something for that, or you think that's okay? Yeah, probably you can just wait and see.
So yeah, I think there is one thing. I think marketing will win if you put Iceberg everywhere in the world, because this is a go-to marketing thing. People will, subscribe to Iceberg, even if it's not the best technical solution, because you know what, organizations, they don't care of the best technical solution. I think you care about the support in 10 years, you care about how it's going to spread and these kind of things first. And I think you are right. I'm wondering, talking about quality, authorization, authentication and stuff. This is an open source format. So open source, you think about very often about tech. You don't think like as a massive organization first, where you have like people who don't know, who are not used to, they have a job, they don't care about the tech itself. And so you don't think as a first-class citizen of authorization, audit, governance, whatever the hell. And I think this is why vendors, like, to be honest, Conduktor, we are here, because organizations, they've always failed with like an open source pure version of something, because it is lacking actually all the organizational thinking on top of it. And so you have a vendor to actually put the thing in a nice box to sell that to an organization. And I think Iceberg, as you said, it's going to be the same. And tomorrow, based on what we said, you have one piece of data, it's exposed as streaming or as Iceberg, SQL, WebSocket, Parquet, whatever the hell, you will need this same layer of governance, security, quality, whatever we want. And I think this is not a thing today. But you know what, I keep, you said Iceberg, we will see probably new format. I keep thinking about the XKCD, there is 50 standard, I will build a new one, 51. And there is a new format, X table, or one table, I think they might have renamed it. We already have new formats to actually be compatible with UD, Iceberg, and all and all. We are just building new standards, and I think we are not going to find one, but probably it's like S3 or Kafka protocols. The protocols will win. Iceberg is not a protocol, but it's a way. Maybe it will win. I don't know.
Well, I'm curious, like what else if people, so let's see, we have a little bit over 20 people in the audience that are tuned in. Type in your spiciest take. If you were to summarize your spicy take for next year, type 1. Don't type all 10, too many. It's like 200, no one is gonna read it. It's like text messages, think that way, 140 characters. They're all Twitter. I'm curious what people will say.
As they're doing that, how many of you are ordering a Jetson Orin for Christmas or asking for one for Christmas? Is that your number one thing you're getting all your developers, Alex?
No, yeah, exactly. I guess these days it's like, can I do something offline? It's really like anything offline, exercise, woodworking or something, which mostly, reduces to like me watching or reading reviews and not buying anything. But that's why
I'm buying Steph a black leather jacket. I'm saving up for my Tom Ford for him, so he can look at
Exactly. I like it. Anyways, it's been a pleasure. Happy to, I don't know, Quentin, if you have a like last minute parting thought.
I think first, just tremendous thanks to you three, right? I know how crazy this time of year is, between the holidays, the shopping, the reading of, the investment rags that come out. Thank you so much for the insight. This was a lot of fun being a part of this with you. I think the questions in the chat were fantastic. I love the is Iceberg VHS of data formats. That was one of my favorites. We'll certainly try to collapse all of these things and send it as a follow-up. But for everybody that's on, again, if there's additional questions and comments or thoughts for the leaders here, you can obviously find them all, whether it's on LinkedIn or on their websites across, you know, their businesses. They're all thought leaders actively participating in the community. And your time with us, the questions is, I think, you know, part of the most important thing of what makes this great. And Giovanna, thank you so much to RisingWave for putting this together. It was absolutely exceptional. Really grateful to be a part of it. So closing thoughts, you know, if there's something you disagreed with or thought additional, please share it to us. We'd love to keep collecting that. What can we do better on the next one? Hopefully we'll get to do one of these again soon. And happy holidays to everybody. Hope you enjoy some beautiful time with your family and loved ones. Absolute pleasure being with you.
Same. Happy
Thanks,
holidays, everyone.
All right.
Enjoy.
How are you doing?